Very good morning to everyone. So today I'll be doing the news analysis of the Hindu dated 28th of October. So I've shared the screen with you, and the front page is talking about the dark pattern sales by the airlines, online agents deemed cybercrime. Now, what are the dark pattern sales, and how is it related to the airlines, and how are these online agents getting onto cyber crimes? Fine. So, how am I going ahead with this article? Now, following complaints about practices by the airlines and online travel agents that entail tricking consumers into making unintended purchase. Now, what are those unintended purchases? Such as paying for seats while booking flight tickets, which one government officials called a cyber crime. And this cyber crime was, told by who? The Ministry of Civil Aviations. as has been asked by the low cost carrier Indigo to rectify its website. Now, the wrap for the airlines come days before a meeting of Consumer Affairs Ministry to discuss such complaints from air travelers to be held on November. Now, attendees will include representatives from the Ministry of Civil Aviation's airlines, online travel agents, and NGO representing consumers. That means the consumers who are coming from your NGOs, who were coming from the Ministry of Civil Aviations, who were coming from the airlines, online travel agents, etc. So, what was happening is the agenda of the meeting is to discuss complaints about the airlines extending the charge on seat selection. Now, if you have a little bit idea, if you have been traveling from the flights, they give this option to you. And what is that option? That which seats would you prefer while traveling? For example, the window seat, the centered one, or the left one, the right one, etc. So, what is the issue behind? If you see, the agenda of the meeting is to discuss the complaints about the airlines extending the charge on seat selection to all seats. That means the incidence of passengers denied boarding despite a valid ticket. That means they are holding a valid ticket. Who? Your consumers, or the one or the passengers who are boarding, but then also they are not allowed to board. So could you see the grievance? That means they are holding the ticket of the respective airlines with the seat confirmation, and yet they are not allowed to board. So unfair practices are what? Consumer Affairs Secretary, they have said a dark pattern is one where an entity nudges consumers to buy products they didn't intend to, which is an unfair trading practice and can constitute a cyber crime. Now, altogether, the issue behind this is, just a minute. Okay, so hold on for a second. Fine, let me explain the issue. Okay, so the issue behind this dark pattern is, just a second. The whole issue behind this dark pattern is that the customers, or you say the passengers, they have a valid ticket with them. And when this valid ticket is with them, uh, and this valid ticket with a seat confirmed of a certain airline, this is given to them. Now when this is given to them, what is happening? They have this boarding tickets with them, but they are not allowed to board. And this practice is called what? An unfair trading practice. Now this practice is referred as an unfair trading practice. And this unfair trading practice is leading to what? A dark pattern. And this is what is called a dark pattern. And this comes under the issue of cybercrime, which Ministry of Civil Aviation has recognized. Fine. Now, what else the author is saying in the 10th article? He added that in the current online environment, there seem to be a systemic practice of fooling consumers. So, what is the other issue, or what is the term that they are using for unfair trading practices? That means they are trying to fool the customers. So when they are trying to fool customers, the ministry received nearly 10,000 such complaints through the National Consumer Helpline over the last 8 to 9 months. So if you see, this incidence has crossed. I mean, these are the 10,000 customers that have been reporting where in the National Consumer Helpline. A cursory analysis of airline website, apps, and online portals by the Hindu showed that such dark patterns were widely prevalent. Queries sent to Indigo, SpiceJet, and Make My Trip went unanswered till the time of going to press. Now, what is the issue altogether? For instance, Indigo's website deploy a technique known as false urgency to give consumers booking an air ticket the impression that they have to pay an extra fee of rupee 99 or to rupees 1500 to buy a seat to complete the purchase, as all free seats are shown as unavailable. That means there are seats which are present in the flights. That means there are seats in the respective airlines. And then what is happening is that even though these airlines are having, the seats, the vacant seats, but then also they show that, all the seats are full, and they have this special column, and this column is called what? False urgency. So this is what, the article is saying, that there is a column of urgency, and what happens is that when you go to this urgency column, there is extra fee that is charged, and that extra fee crosses rupees 99 to rupee 1500. Now when this, and you know what happens is, even though your seats are vacant, but the consumer or the customer or the passenger feels that okay, there's no seat, so I should go for an urgency one, and I'm going to pay the extra fees or the extra charges in order to get a seat. And even though there were multiple seats that were vacant. Now, sometimes there will be 4 to 5 seats available, but they are relegated to the bottom of the aircraft cabin and can be harder to locate and navigate to on the web page. While the passengers can hit the skip button at the end of the seat selection page, they are not informed in a transparent manner that free seats will be auto assigned to them if they do not wish to pay the extra sum. That means they are saying that certain customers are unaware of the practice that even though they are not going to pay the extra charges for the seats they are showing, they will get the seat, but there is a kind of you know um, a environment created that you need to pay for the seat allotment. So that's what they are saying, that customers or the passengers sometimes fail to see this skip button. On Indigo's mobile application, even the option to skip is placed in the top right corner and displayed in a tiny font. That means all these practices are the practices of false marketing, or you can say false trading. Why? Because sometimes you won't be able to access the skip button which is present at the rightmost corner in a very tiny form. Fine. So what is happening is such a practice is also known as interface interference, and this is what they are calling as. That means at the right corner you have the skip written at very tiny letters, and this practice is also called what? Interface interference. Where the website design highlights certain specific information, deliberately obscures other information. Ministry of Civil Aviation sources said on Thursday this is a design of Indigo website template and there is no malified intent. They added that the airline has now been directed to provide a clear option for auto assigned seats. Now, directions have been given to the airlines. And what are those directions? That there should be clear indication of what auto assigned seats. Sometimes the customers or the passengers are unable to access this option and they end up, you know, giving extra fee, extra charges. So for that matter, they are saying that auto assigned seat option should be very clearly visible on the website template of the airlines so that the consumers are not befooled. Fine. Okay. So here, what you need to know is the term interface interference. You should know about the dark pattern and what are the unfair trading practices. You should also know about how they constitute to cybercrime. With respect to this article is important. Okay, let's move on to the next one. Okay, panel holds back its report on crime bills. Now, the Parliamentary Standing Committee on Home Affairs postponed its adoption of a draft report on 3 bills seeking to replace the existing criminal laws after pressure from the opposition parties. And according to the sources, the English version of the draft report was circulated just last week, and the Hindi version was sent to the members of the parliamentary panel. Now, these are the people who are 3 members of the panel. Now, what have they saying? So they are demanding several changes. And what are those changes? भारतीय न्याय संहिता 2023. So Bharatiya Nyaya Sanhita 2023, that will replace the IPC, and the Bharatiya Nagrik Suraksha Sanhita 2023 will replace the CRPC. So Bharatiya Nyaya Sanhita will replace your IPC, and your Bharatiya Nagrik Suraksha Sanhita. Bharatiya Nagrik Suraksha Sanhita 2023. This is going to replace your CRPC. Okay, so Bharatiya Nagrik Suraksha Samhita is going to replace your CRPC. More dissent notes are expected to follow. One key point of the contention is the Hindi nomenclature of the bill has not been accepted in the draft reports. The panel report states that since the text of the bill is in English, it does not violate provisions of Article 348 of the Constitution. Okay, the panel draft report has accepted a host of suggestions on Bharatiya Sakshaksh 2023 that is meant to replace the Indian Evidence Act. So, Bharatiya Saksh, Bharatiya Saksh, Bharatiya Saksh 2023 replaces the Indian Evidence Act. There is a unanimity on that proportion of the draft report. The panel began its consultations on three bills on August 24 with a presentation by the Home Secretary. Now it has had 12 meetings on three bills. Now, what are those things? One is Bharatiya Sakshya, replacing your Indian Evidence Act. Then you have Bharatiya Nagrik Suraksha Sanhita, that is CRPC. Then you have Bharatiya Nyaya Sanhita, that is replacing IPC. That IPC is your Indian Penal Code. Then you have Criminal Procedure Code. And then you have Indian Evidence Act. According to the opposition member, this is highly inadequate and considering the scale and the scope of the bill. So, opposition is of the opinion that this is very inadequate and the scope of the bill. The sources said that a few minutes after Friday's meetings began, the panel chairman and etc. The draft report slated to be adopted at the meeting as per the circulated agenda. Now, what is that? So, this drew sharp criticism from various parties. Okay, now it urged the panel to stop, bringing these bills for short-term electoral gains. Hurrying through the bills would amount to mocking the process of legislative scrutiny. So, these bills are being brought in such a hurry that it seems to be skipping the legislative process. Fine. Now, the bills need extensive consultations with the government and the stakeholders in the state. Now, the people and the MPs are of the opinion that the Hindi nomenclature of the bills was exclusionary for a large section of the country. So, one thing that they have pointed out is that the Hindi nomenclature of the bill is what? It is exclusionary in a manner. Why? Because many of the sections might not want to go with Hindi as the language. Fine. So three bills: Bharatiya Sakshya, Bharatiya Nagrik Suraksha Sanhita, Bharatiya Nyaya Sanhita. So Nyaya Sanhita, Nagrik Suraksha Sanhita, and Bharatiya Saksh. These three bills have been brought and which are drawing criticism. Let's wait for certain editorial to come in, because then there will be more deeper analysis. So they are drawing criticisms. Fine.
You are currently the only person in this conference.
Okay. Fine. Let's move on to the next one. Okay, women make the world better. So far, past so many days, we have been having these editorials which have been talking about women and making the world better. So let's begin with it. Um, Economic history has long been chronicled through a male lens, emphasizing the contribution of men and their viewpoints. Now, just look at the Nobel Memorial Prize in the economic sciences. What is the ratio? So it has been awarded to 90 men, and since 1969, and just 3 women. Fine. Now, the first Eleanor Ostrom won in 2009 for explaining how local communities, most of them in developing countries, govern themselves. The second went to Astor Duflo, one in 2019. So, see, the time period also, one was in 2009, other was in 2019. And the first one that was in 2009 was explaining how local communities, most of them in developing countries, govern themselves. The second one was talking about her experimental work in elevating global poverty. Claudia Golden was the third woman who was awarded the Nobel Prize in Economics in 2023 for her work explaining why women earn less money than men even when they do same work. So, three causes for which the women economists have been talking about. First one was about how the developing or your local communities in developing countries govern themselves. So, first one was local communities in developing countries govern themselves. Second one they talked about was that how or what are the methods of alleviating poverty. And the third one talked about why women earn less money than men even when they do same work. So why women earn less money than men for the same work. Fine. Now, economic science is focused on studying systems for producing economically valuable goods and services efficiently. So, natural and human resources are measured by economists in money terms. Claudia Golden was awarded for her work explaining why women earn less money than men even when they do same work. A woman's work in the family contributes to the well-being of humans in society. It does not add to the growth of economy and GDP. So one cause they are saying that women's contribution in the home. What is happening when women are contributing in home? So the women's contribution in the home does not provide what any contribution towards GDP. So there's no contribution towards GDP. That like it means that they are doing a lot of work, no matter how much, no matter what. But the point is that when GDP calculation is done, their contribution is not recognized. So when GDP calculation is there, their contribution goes unrecognized. Second thing, what they are saying is that apart from GDP calculation, their work is nowhere leading to the growth of economy. Okay. Now, Ms. Golden's research revealed that women who also attend to the caring work required for families at home are considered less valuable in economic enterprises because they cannot commit to continuously working full time for their employers, which men can. That means the one big reason behind this, that is committing for full time work. Why? Because their priorities becomes, or the priorities change. Other than that, the future of work in India, patterns of economic growth have shifted globally. Long-term employment in industrial forms of establishment is becoming harder to find even in rich countries. More employment is being generated now in the gig economy and the informal sector. Even in large industrial establishments, jobs are on short-term contracts. These trends in the future of work, what are they are called as special challenge for India, which has the largest number of youth in the world. Now they are finding what fewer opportunities for dignified work with adequate income and social security, even though the Indian economy is among the fastest growing in the world. Now, moreover, India, which ranks 132 out of 191 countries in human development, need to invest more in caregiving services. Sadly, caregiving work is not valued in the money economy. The millions of women providing domestic services and millions more who are providing care in the communities as ASHA workers, Anganwadi workers in primary health and education are very poorly paid. So the author has, cited the examples of ASHA workers, Anganwadi workers, and women's employed in primary health and education. Both of them are very poorly paid. Now, the Indian Prime Minister has called upon G20 to support human centric development going beyond GDP. The vision of globalization so far has been one earth, one economy, one future. India has called for a different vision at G20, and that is Vasudev Kutumbakar. Now, what does this mean? This means that one family, one earth, one future. GDP is a monetary measure of only the economic component of a society. GDP does not value caregiving work. Therefore, to pursue its ambition to become a $10 trillion GDP economy, policymakers, even in India, wants to pluck women out of their families and from informal workers and push them into more efficient industrial farm establishment to contribute to GDP. That means, in order to make India a $10 trillion economy, $10 trillion economy. Now, this $10 trillion economy can only be possible if this can be only possible if the women's are plucked out from informal sectors. They are plucked out from informal sectors or from their homes, and they are brought in formal economy. And why this is being done? Because then they will be, more working more efficiently, and their contribution towards GDP will be more. The SDG goal. Now, the 17 Sustainable Development Goals to be achieved by 2030 cover a range of environmental, social, and economic problems that must be solved simultaneously to make a progress more inclusive and sustainable. The G20 has assessed that at the midway point to 2030, the global progress on SDGs is off track, with only 12% of targets on track. That means only 12% of the targets. See, SDGs, we are having multiple goals, but what is happening is that the kind of targets we are achieving, or the work in the way we are performing, it is only certain that 12% of the targets is something that we are on track with. Clearly, we must change our approach for achieving the SDGs. This is what I said, that we are working in a way where we want to achieve the goals what we have in we have thought of in SDG, but ultimately what is happening is that we are on the track of achieving only 12% of what we have thought of. So we need to change our approach. Many wise men have achieved that we cannot solve complex systemic problems with the same ways of thinking that have caused them. The prevalent paradigm of public policies for domain experts to determine best solutions in their respective areas, and for government organizations and non governmental organizations to deliver them on scale. However, educational solutions that work in Kerala will not suit Bihar. Water management systems that suit Rajasthan will not fit Uttarakhand. So, moreover, environment, livelihood, health, and infrastructure solution must mesh with each others in the local context. Therefore, what is happening? Complex problem must be solved bottom up, not top down. Local system solutions cooperatively developed by communities are the only way the goals of SDGs can be achieved. The value the work of caring. So the masculine view of the economy is a productive machine driven by competition. A feminine view of the economy is a society of human beings who care. Now, mainstream economics, so far dominated by men, has created a tragedy of the commons. Nobel laureates Ostrom showed how local communities, often with women at their center, cooperatively govern their local resources equitably and sustainably. Now, Miss Ostrom proposed a different paradigm based on cooperation, equity, and sustainability for realizing the promise of commons, which is the urgent need of this millennium. A paradigm change is required in economics. What is the paradigm change? It requires a power shift, which is difficult because people with power will not let go. Money gives power, political authority gives power, formal education and science give power too. That means the source of power is money. The source of power is political authority. The source of power is formal education and science. Fine. They all are contributing towards what power. In fact, this is the basis of caste system of power in all societies. Those with the power of money, authority, and formal higher education are the upper caste in the hierarchy. They form coalitions among themselves, ostensibly to make life better for the common people who they say cannot govern themselves and must be developed. It is time for the powers above to humbly listen to the people and learn from them rather than teaching them ways that have led humanity to grave problems of environmental degradation and economic inequities. Now, the author is trying to say what that all those people who are in power, instead of getting onto this approach that they are going to tell, they should take the approach of listening to them. So the global male dominated money driven systems of institutions of business and society needs an overhaul. Now women must be given freedom not just to be promoted within male dominated institutions but rather to shape better family spirited institutions for governance. Now, moreover, local communities must be given more power for designing, implementing inclusive and sustainable solutions to their problems. Without such fundamental institutional reforms, the vision of Vasudev Kutumka, one family, one earth, one future, will soon fade along with the G20 banners. Now, the author is saying that if you are not listening to the people's opinion, what is going to happen is the time is not very far where the approach of Vasudev Kutumkaram, that is your one family, one earth, one future, or whatever you are thinking of, will fade along with the G20 banner. So, what we need to do is that the global male dominated, money driven system of institutions of business, society need an overhaul. That means all this requires a change. Now, what is happening is women must be given freedom, not just to be promoted within male dominated institutions, but rather to shape better family spirited institutions for governance. Okay. A China India partnership, its vast global potential. Now, the crisis in Ukraine continues unabated, even as new conflicts flared up in the West Asia. Okay. Traditional and non-traditional security threats are interlocked, and global deficits in peace, development, security, and governance are growing. What has happened to the world? How should we respond? These are profound questions that have been raised by the world, by history, and by the times, and challenge mankind to search for answers. Now, an opportunity for China and India. As Asian civilizations that have been living side by side for thousands of years, China and India share common thoughts on the future and destiny of mankind. Chinese people have cherished the vision, a world of fairness and justice for the common good. Ancient Indian literature also recalls the motto of Vasudev Kutumbakam, that is, one big, one earth, one family. In the 1950s, China and India jointly initiated the Five Principles of Peaceful Coexistence, which has turned into basic norms governing international relations. As two largest developing countries and emerging market economies, each with a population of over 1 billion, China and India are both at crucial stage of development and revitalization. Now they have the responsibility of what? Now they have the responsibility, the ability, opportunity to once again illuminate the path forward for mankind with oriental wisdom. That means your own traditional wisdoms. The answers China's President Xi Jinping gives out is to build a global community of a shared future. A white paper China recently titled What a Global Community of Shared Future China's Proposal and Actions systematically lays out the theoretical base, practice, and development of that over the past decade. Now it advocates what? Forging greater synergy to achieve lasting peace, developing a conducive environment for common security, instilling greater confidence in common development, providing sustainable driving forces for mutual learning among civilizations, and taking more action to protect the ecology. Now, the vision of a global community of shared future has been included in United Nations General Assembly resolution for 6 consecutive years and incorporated in the resolutions and declaration of multilateral mechanisms such as your SCO, that is Shanghai Corporation, and BRICS. Now it has won the international community's understanding and support, especially among developing countries, and has a clear path forward. Now, what are the vision points? These are jointly build an open world economy that reflects the demand and represents the interest of developing countries. Unilateralism, protectionism, decoupling, and the zero sum game of winners takes all should be rejected. Follow the right path of peaceful development. The world needs peace, just like people need air and sunshine. The trend towards the pursuit community of a shared future, emerging countries and established powers can avoid falling into the suicide's trap and build common ground and achieve what? Common and achieve common development for different civilizations and countries with different social systems. Countries should uphold the principles of mutual respect, equity and justice, and mutually beneficial cooperation for what? So as to build broader, deeper global partnerships based on equality, openness, and cooperation. Now, how should you practice true multilateralism? So, building cliques in the name of multilateralism is no more than bloc politics. Seeking supremacy in the name of multilateralism is still unilateral thinking. Now, how can you be selective multilateralism? It is by practicing double standards. The world should be fair and free from domineering practices. There is only one system for the world, which is international system with the United Nations at its core. There is only one order for the world, which is the international order based on international law. There is only one set of rules for the world, which is the basic norms governing international relations based on the purposes and principles of UN Charter. Now, promote the common values of peace, development, equity, justice, democracy, freedom of humanity. There is no single model of democracy that is universally applicable, which is far less a superior one. So, what they are saying to say is that all common values of peace, development, equity, justice, democracy, and freedom. There is all this is what the model of democracy. Promoting the common values of humanity is about seeking a common ground, and while reserving differences, harmony without uniformity, and fully respecting the diversity of civilizations. Now, what is China's contribution? Over the past decade, China has contributed its strength to building a global community of shared future, and there is a firm conviction and solid actions. The Belt and Road Initiative has become a popular global public good and a cooperation platform provided by China to the world. The Global Development Initiative, Global Security Initiative, and Global Civilization Initiative, they all are pointing to the directions of human progress across three dimensions and have evolved into a crucial cornerstone for building a global community. And this global community is of what? Shared future, providing comprehensive solution to the challenges confronting humanity. Now, with the third of global population, China and India are natural patterns in building a global community of a shared future. China and India could jointly work hand in hand with global development, security, and civilization initiatives. And what is the reason behind? To demonstrate the common will, resolution of the global south countries for what? There should be an open, inclusive, clean, and beautiful world that enjoys what? Lasting peace, universal security, and common prosperity. So, the author is trying to say that the two nations have the responsibility, ability, and the opportunity to chart the path for the world. So, the path they are talking about is a future which has humanity and a global shared future of many aspects. For example, your development aspects, for your civilization aspects, for security purpose, etc. Fine. Okay, so let's move on to the next one. Now, India must leverage ties with Qatar to free its citizens facing death penalty. So, yesterday I told you that there were these navy officers who were held by the Qatar for spionage. So, let's see what they are talking about. Mystery trial: India must leverage ties with Qatar to free its citizens facing death penalty. Now, the death sentence handed down by a Qatari court to eight Indians reportedly accused of spionage is indeed deeply shocking. And why it's so? Because the trial was shrouded in secrecy with scant information on the charges and evidence against the former Indian Navy servicemen. Despite pleas from their families and Indian diplomats in Doha, Qatar has not explained why it has not divulged details of the case. Even the judgment has yet to be shared with the country. Now, leaked reports suggest what? That men have been accused of sharing secret information pertaining to the stealth submarine program they worked on with a third country. So, the Navy officers, you can say, they have been of what opinions that they have shared secret information and pertaining to what? Stealth marine program. a charge their families have denied. Visits by Indian officials to Qatar to plead for leniency and transparency have been of no avail. While this case has some parallels to the case of the former commander Jadhav, who is on death row too in Pakistan, the difference is that India's ties with Qatar have been relatively better. So they are saying that countries' tie also affect the same. For example, India Pakistan tie are in different terms, while India Qatar ties are better. Now, apart from strategic and defense cooperation agreement, India sources 40% of its LNG, that is liquefied natural gas needs from Qatar. That means India takes 40% of its LNG, liquefied natural gas, from Qatar. India is also Qatar's third biggest source of imports, particularly raw materials for construction and fresh food items. Pertinently, these supplies continued despite the Gulf blockade against Qatar, which should have counted for some goodwill towards India. In addition, around 7 lakh Indian expatriates are an integral part of Qatar's institution, industry, and workforce. A rift in ties, which a sentence like this is bound to injure, will be to detriment of both the countries, and India must make this clear to Qatar. Now the government must waste no time in charting the next steps to ensure the Indians are given the best possible support in the appeal. Apart from the legal appeals process and diplomatic legal work, channels to the Qatari leadership should be activated at the highest level, including the Prime Minister if necessary. A case must be made for what? For clemency, commuting the sentence to jail terms that could even be served out in India if the men are indeed found guilty in the appeals process. Now, what they are saying is that since India and Qatar are having good ties, what is expected is that a form of legal appeals and etc. They could be activated in a form which is in the legal framework, and also diplomatic channels are open for Qatari leaderships. Notwithstanding reports that seek to tie the verdict to more geopolitical considerations, including perceived Qatari differences with India over its policy on Israel and Palestine in the current conflict, the government must demonstrate that the lives of the men are indeed a priority for their country, and a government that claims a policy of no Indian left behind. That means the government is all focused on meeting all the regulations and the appeals in a a legalized format and in a manner where every citizen's plea or the cause has been heard and will always be worked upon. And the reason behind is that the government is working or claiming a policy of what? That no Indian shall be left behind. Fine. Now moving on to the next one. Okay, so the next here you see there is what uh, the rangers that are violating the ceasefire pact, hitting civilians' houses, crops, and the border security force has retaliated. And there are certain minor injuries that have been, found these in the civilians. So here, what this becomes important with your security purpose, and what is this? That is violation of Ceasefire Act. Fine. So you just need to have a go through of the article. You should know about the different forces. Fine. Okay. Now let's move on to the next one. Okay, so we have this here in news that is 80% of India's urban population has access to high speed internet. Internet connectivity and speed increases ease of living. That means your ease of living, or the term, or one of the factors for ease of living could be the high speed internet. Okay, so the Honorable Prime Minister on Friday has hailed the telecom operators' progress in the spreading 5G coverage in the urban centers, saying that 80% of India's urban population has access to high speed technology. Now, within a year of 5G launch, what is happening is 4 lakh 5G base stations have been built in India. Now, improving internet connectivity and speed is not just about rankings and numbers. So what is happening is jumping in global mobile data speed ranking. That means Indian networks have been jumping in the global data speed ranking. Improving internet connectivity and speed also increases ease of living. It becomes easier for the students to connect with their teachers online. The patient has a seamless experience while connecting to the doctors for telemedicine. Tourists can easily use online maps to find a location. Now, what is a stain on rollouts? We are not only rapidly expanding 5G in India, but are also moving towards becoming a leader in the field of 6G. That means we are having 4G, we are heading towards 5G, and the field of 6G is also not far, because there also we would be doing what we want to attain a global data speed ranking. Okay, so in a jive at the controversy surroundings, what is said that what happened during the 2G, maybe the new generation will not know. 4G expanding in a period, but there is no single stain on that technology's rollout. So the Prime Minister has been pointing towards the rise in domestic electronic manufacturing as a success, and pointing to the tech giants. And what are those tech giants? That are Apple, Samsung smartphones assembly in India. As an example, now they have cited Google's plan to assemble its flagship Pixel lineup in India. Today, we are exporting close to 2 lakh crores in electronics manufacturing. Now, the Union Ministry of Electronics and Information Technology, what have they told on to the reporters? That the component manufacturing ecosystem was taking shape in India, with camera modules for Apples coming together in India soon. Now, the value addition is increasing rapidly. Other than that, what they have been citing is that the Google designs semiconductor chips that go into the Pixel smartphones in India. So the Honorable Prime Minister had pitched on to what securing the electronic supply chain, a likely reference to the Chinese dominance in the electronics assembly and the manufacturing regions. Now it is necessary to discuss how we can make democratic societies of the world safe from the troublemakers. Okay. uh, Other than that, what you can do is okay. So this much for today. I shall see you to on Monday. Okay, so thank you so much.